Black Politics Today, an eye for what's at stake in global politics and your source for the social, economic, and political impact of public policy on the African American community. Your host, Kelly Michael Williams, is a political strategy veteran with an undefeated campaign record and the political experience that spans nearly 3 decades, from Mayor Willie Brown in California to President Barack Obama in our nation's capital. So get ready for a fresh and honest approach on the politics that affect you and your family the most. Now, your host, Kelly Michael Williams.
Welcome to the show. How's everybody doing tonight? Thank you for joining us this afternoon, this evening. Of course, always right here on What's at Stake at Black Politics Today. I want to thank you for joining us tonight. And tonight, as we get back into the seat of looking forward to what's going on here as we wind down in 2022 and then look forward to going into 2023, a whole lot has happened. And of course, some good, some bad, depending on how you look at it and what your perspective is. But certainly as we move into 2023, just a week ago, it seems like it was just, January or February 2022. The year has gone by so quickly and just so fast that it's like, wow, where'd it go? What happened? I didn't get things done that I wanted to get done. I wasn't able to get this, done. I wanted to get this done, that done, all these things. And clearly, it has been a whirlwind year for us just to move forward. The elections, issues, crime, so much going on in America, right here in Washington, D.C. and across the country. So I know that when you look at it and you think about what's going on, you personally, socially, economically, politically, for me personally, so many things have gone well and so many things I have not gotten an opportunity to do. But nevertheless, as we move forward, I want to encourage all of you to go for what you know. As we say, go for the gusto. Don't look back at what was or what could have been or, what you didn't get done or the time that's passed. We always thinking about, man, I should have done this or I should have done that. Just move forward. Don't focus on the things that you failed at, except for those things that you failed at that you want to learn from, because we always hear that everyone's success started with a failure. They didn't always get everything they wanted right off the bat. So something had to happen for them to get where they needed to be, and they had to do trial and error. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't work. So don't get caught up in what didn't happen, what did happen. But most of all, don't allow that seed of doubt to creep in and grab hold of your roots of success, because then you'll always end up in those failures. But allow yourself to always look forward and think about it. And I'm saying all this because last week I had the opportunity to attend the Hope Global Forum. And if I do nothing else in life, I'm going to fail for my success, because what I mean by that is, like I just said, people who have succeeded usually tell you that they failed at what they originally started or their first attempt at what they were trying to do. But attending this conference or this forum in Atlanta, Georgia, and listening to the speakers, listening to the brain trust behind it, and having an opportunity to speak with and interview a couple of folks there, it has allowed me to say, you know what? Regardless of what may be blocking me or thinking it's stopping me, I'm going to push forward. I'm going to keep going. I'm not going to allow my failures to ultimately defeat my success. I'm going to allow my success to defeat my failures. And the Hope Global Forum had me thinking about that, because of so many of the projects, opportunities, and the plans that they have that they're doing right now. It's something that I wanted to share, and I'm deeply honored that I have the opportunity to share that with you tonight, because the person that I have coming to speak about that is none other than the brain trust behind the Hope Global Forum. And I love the title of the Hope Global Forum, because I surmise that he probably entitled it that way because he was envisioning providing hope around the globe. And let me tell you that precisely what I believe he's been doing and continues to do, um, for communities of color, for everyone who is out there looking for opportunity and trying to move forward. This brother, man, I mean, he is doing some powerful things, and I'm excited to have him with me. Um, he is the founder, CEO, chairman of the board of the largest financial literacy nonprofit in the country. He's an author, husband, I mean, a global icon for many small businesses and, quite frankly, many corporations. And that is none other than John Hope Bryant. And I want to bring him on and welcome him to the broadcast. Dr. Bryant, I'm going to give you a title as doctor because, brother, all the stuff that you were doing and all the stuff you've been doing is just amazing. And I told you that we first met. I remember it back when my uncle and my mother called you up to Sacramento for the California Black Chamber
Oh, that's right. That's right.
conference, and you had just gotten through the bus tour in South Central. It was right after the Rodney King riots, and share with us how that bus tour sort of took off, and what was your brain trust behind that? Because I mean, you were in your 20s, and you were like, let me bring these banks in and have them tour South Central.
Yeah, first of all, honored to be with you, and thank you for living your truth and for figuring out what you have to give, not just what you have to get in this life, in this world, and recognizing one of the value propositions of the forum was our resiliency. That we have to learn to take no for vitamins. That success is 10% what life does to you, and 90% you choose to respond to it. What's your response going to be? The rainbows only follow storms. That we are an extraordinarily resilient people. We don't give ourselves enough credit for that, and that is actually an asset in the world of business and success and building. The more resilient you are, the more successful you're going to be. If you don't quit, you won't fail. The bus tour is really the 1992, 1995, 1998 version of the whole global forum. I mean, you're touring investors in your neighborhood or your hood, as we say when I grew up.
Right.
If they won't go to your community, bring your community to them. Create an environment where people can be comfortable, and you create a big tent where people can sit and listen without distraction to what's being said to them or being shown to them. The Bankers Bus Tour was like going to a third world country and doing and having a government do a trade mission where you fly in and you observe and listen, and you listen to and you take in the culture of some place that you would not otherwise be, or at least not in the circumstances. Where you drive into our inner cities and you find that people have driven around them for years going to work, but have never driven through them. And an inner city in America is a gold mine because you're 10 minutes, 15 minutes from the major freeways. You're 10 or 15 minutes from, in LA, the port, from the mountains, from Hollywood, from the ocean, from the downtown. I mentioned that, places of work, but we don't value it. In an inner city in France is called Paris. An inner city in the UK is called London. An inner city in any part of the world is it the most valuable real estate in that part of the world. In America, we put struggling people into inner cities as a bit of a penalty box, and then populations increased. Traffic got crazy pre-COVID, and it's going to come back post-COVID. And frankly, people are young people who don't have a problem with black and brown folks who happen to be white are moving right into inner cities because it's centrally located, undervalued real estate.
Yeah.
And they call it gentrification, I guess, but if you look up the dictionary definition of gentrification, it's a movement to middle class values. So there's nothing wrong with gentrification as long as it includes the people who live there. You want
Right.
gentrification. You want a mix of incomes and values. You don't want a exclusively rich place or exclusively a poor place. Anyway, I've over answered your question, but the bus tour was the Hope Global Forum is a software upgrade on the Bankers Bus Tour. And most people didn't understand what I was doing when I did the bus tours. And many of the people who look like you and me rolled their eyes at it. They also roll their eyes at capitalism. They roll their eyes at financial literacy. They roll their eyes at credit access. They're not rolling their eyes anymore. But back then, nobody understood what I was doing and sort of wrote it off. And wrote me off, which is fine. It just gave me opportunity to get my stuff together when nobody was paying attention.
Right.
Right.
And that's the one thing that was mind blowing, I think, to many people, is that you were able to bring in banks and investors into South Central right after a riot and convince them to invest in that and to rebuild that and to provide opportunity for that and to provide economic opportunity for those who live there. What did you say to them to do that? Because, like you said, they weren't looking to us in that moment to invest. How did you convince them to do something like that?
Life's about perspective. Guy went into Africa to sell shoes, and he cabled back home to the home office within 48 hours and said, "Send me home. I'm ready to go. No one here wears shoes." The shoe company sent somebody else to Africa, who maybe his name was Kelly Williams. And after 3 weeks, no one heard from him at all. He seemed to have gotten lost in the bush. And after almost a month, Kelly Williams cabled back to the home office and said, "Send me every shoe you've got, because no one here wears shoes."
Right.
Life is about how you see it. I just simply said to investors, the color here is not black or white, as in race, or red or blue, as in politics. It's green. You have an underserved market here. 41% of black folks own a home today, compared to 75% of white folks. Well, that means that 75% of everybody you meet in white America owns a home, and I guess that's a good news. But if you're trying to make a market out of that, the market's already tapped. But with us, 41%, more than half of us don't own a home, but we're paying the same cost of rent as we would for a mortgage payment. So the thing that's a negative, which is we're not creating wealth creation, number one way to create wealth is home ownership, is also an opportunity. Hey, banks, we don't want predatory subprime loans. We don't want the homeboy shopping network financing. We don't want 15% interest rates. We don't want a perfect eyesight loan at 20 points at 20% interest after the loan you get blind. We want prime rate financing, and I'm going to do the work to get people coached up, get their credit score up. We're moving credit scores 50 to 100 points through our Hope Financial coaching. Get the debt down. We're moving debt down $2,600 for somebody making $48,000 a year on average. Get the savings up. We're moving savings $400 to $1,000. Somebody making $48,000 a year. By the time we finish with that, you actually are prime. You are a prime candidate for bank financing. So if we can create a new and emerging market of people who look like us, then the bank can say, it's not only diverse, it's not only inclusive, it not only is it the right thing to do, it's good business.
Right.
And we are creating wealth creation in our communities through home ownership in that one example. I just do that in every category, whether it's small business, whatever the issue is. I see us as an emerging market in America. I see us as an untapped value proposition. It's a James Brown version of affirmative action. Open the door, I'll get it myself.
And you've done that through Operation Hope. You are correct me if I'm wrong, the only outside organization or nonprofit organization or business that's actually housed in the bank that's helping with financial literacy and helping consumers who aren't qualifying for loans to get those loans by way of Operation Hope, compared to them going in, getting that rejection letter and walking out and never coming back again. You're helping them actually go through the process. Talk to us about your programs and services.
Yeah, we're actually very insightful comment you just made there. It's deeper than that. We're the only nonprofit in U.S. history ever allowed to operate inside of a bank branch.
Right.
The banking regulators don't want miscellaneous organizations hanging around an FDIC insured quasi-governmental institution that has enormous access and influence over your money and your life. They cannot have regulators, banking regulators, the FDIC, Federal Reserve, Comptroller of the Currency's Office, CFPB, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, et cetera. They cannot afford to have a mistake made or some kind of a swindle made inside of an FDIC insured bank. It'll destroy the most important thing that we have, which is trust.
Right.
So they don't let anybody in that bank branch that can erode that trust. We're the only nonprofit ever allowed to operate inside of those bank branches.
Wow.
And what happens is the bank can't tell you what they already know. They know why you'd be declined for the loan. They have absolute clarity. Your credit's toe up from the flow up. Your savings account is non-existent. You got an NSF, non-sufficient funds reputation with the bank. Whatever the issue is, the debt to income ratio is out of whack. They know why you'd be declined. But for fear of being sued by you, if they tell you why you'd be declined, they say nothing. They say you'll get a letter in the mail or whatever. So you've now wasted 60, 90, 120 days on a process. And at the end of the time, you know at the end of 120 days what you thought you knew begin with, this bank's not going to give me no loan.
Right.
But what you don't know is that half of Black folks have a credit score below 620. Not poor people, Kelly. Half of all Black people, advanced degrees, PhDs, doctors, lawyers, over half of us have a credit score below 620. You can't get a decent mortgage below 680. You cannot get an unsecured small business loan below 700 because it's risky credit. You can't get a decent auto loan below 610, 620. As I said at the conference, if you get a Mercedes Benz with a loan with a credit score of 580, you don't have a Mercedes Benz, you have Mercedes payments.
Right.
So many times you're being told no, and you don't know why. You think it's racism. You think it's discrimination. Right. You think it's some kind of a bias. No, this might be your credit score stinks. So what we do is they sort of refer us, and we're going to be in half of Truist Bank branches. We're going into Wells Fargo, 120 Wells Fargo markets. We're going into 17 markets for Bank of America. We're at U.S. Bank. We're whatever bank, big or small, you do business with, we're mostly there. And they refer you to us. We pull your credit with your permission, and we say, "Woo! This was a bus accident here." We all have a nice laugh, and then we start going through it with you. And we find there's errors in your credit report, and we say, that's not yours. No, that's not mine. Let's write a letter to the credit bureaus. The law states that they can't confirm it's yours. They must remove it within 30 days. When they remove it, and most of the times they do remove it, it's a 30% pop on your credit score, 30 points pop on your credit score. And we just keep going at it, working at it to get your credit score up, your debt down, et cetera, et cetera. And then we reintroduce you to the bank and get you an approval. We've done $3.5 billion of loan approvals for Black and brown folks to become owners.
That's amazing. $3.5 billion.
Yep.
For Black and brown folks to become homeowners.
Yep, in over 30 years. And we've only just begun. I'm going to become the Starbucks of financial inclusion. We're going to become the Walmart of financial literacy. I mean, my goal is to be everywhere. We have 220 locations right now in 50 states, or 46 states. My goal is 1,000 locations. We're already the largest nonprofit delivery system in the country. We're in bank branches. We're in employers like not Walmart. We're in Delta Airlines. We're at UPS. We're at Harley Davidson, working class whites. We will increasingly be where we see you and me. We're in schools. We're in government offices.
You're in those facilities teaching and helping them understand financial literacy and understand the economic platform for which you're trying to stand on.
More than that, we're coaching because the best teaching is to get you through a financial transaction that you didn't even understand or thought you wouldn't get. If we can make you a homeowner, make you a small business owner, get you access to credit, get you a student loan your child wants, whatever. Now all of a sudden you understand how this actually impacts your life. You've learned a valuable lesson through an experience. So it's not just teaching, it's coaching.
Talk to me about the one MBB program that you've
Mhm.
started and created, 1 million Black small businesses in
Mhm.
10 years, I think it is, in 10 years,
Yep.
and the investors that you have. I got caught up today because I was going back to the forum and I was going back to other videos, and I fell upon last year's interview that you did with Spotify CEO Harley.
Yeah. Shopify.
Shopify. I
Hmm.
said Spotify, Shopify,
People
and
say that all the time. Don't worry about it.
and the I think it's $100 million that they're giving,
130 million.
130 million that they're giving Operation Hope to help create small businesses, but the programming and everything behind that. That's
Yes.
amazing, man.
So
Talk to these folks who are looking to try to get into the programs that you offer and you have, because the other thing that you didn't say is that your programs are free.
right, it's right. Free 99.
Right. All right. Talk
Free
about that.
free 99. Right. And it's not so much free as that I raised $50 million a year almost. Just so I have 50 entities we created. I have some for-profit businesses that are where my wealth creation comes from and where my private sector activity is. But I spend most of my time with my philanthropic activities, most notably Operation Hope. And Operation Hope's budget is gone from zero, literally $61,000 a year budget when I started it in 1992 when I was 26, to a $50 million budget today, where 90 cents of every dollar goes to help poor people and struggling families help themselves. So we're one of the best run nonprofits in the country, 4-star charity navigator rating, which means basically it's like it's like having a triple A bond rating on Wall Street. It's like having an 800 credit score. We're very well run and one of the top 7% in the country, right up there with United Way, Red Cross, etc. And and because we fund that at the corporate level, and all the employees of the Hope Insides are mine. A lot of nonprofits have effectively chapter organizations. They have a national brand, but their local chapter of XYZ, I don't want to name names, is a local board, a local corporation. They raise money locally. So the national office can influence what the local office is doing, but cannot tell the office what to do because
Hmm.
they're not their boss.
Right.
Well, the employees work for me at Operation Hope, all of them. So we can make a decision at the corporate office and immediately have that influence throughout the organization because it's one corporation. And I raise the money at the top. It's like the Robin Hood effect. I get from the rich, I give it to the poor. And so as a result of that, all services are free. Now, people listening to this go, did I hear that right? I mean, I'm paying for credit counseling services. I'm paying for bankruptcy services. I'm paying for what? Yeah, you don't need to pay for any of that. And most of the folks doing that are lying to you anyway about what they're going to do for you. They're taking your money. You're already irritated. You're already having hard times. We don't charge. So the services we provide are very expensive, but they're offset by our investors, so
Investors.
they're free to you. You need to invest your time. What
Time.
you mentioned was the 1 million Black Business Initiative, one MBB, which was in this particular example an investment by Shopify to create 1 million Black businesses in America by 2030. That program is uh, was launched 2 years ago, um, and you hear a lot of these people saying, "Oh, 1 million this and 1 million that," and no, very rarely do they come back and tell you whether it was a Million Man March or whatever it is. Very rarely does somebody come back and tell you actually who actually showed up over what period of time and how close they got to that goal. It all becomes like a press release. By the way, I'm not jamming up Million Man March. I'm just giving that as an example. I'm not sure who showed up to that. I'm just like giving an
Right.
example where people throw numbers around. When we put out a number, we're serious about it. So we said 1 million Black businesses. Just some context, Kelly. There's only 3 million Black businesses in America, period, and 96% of those businesses don't have an employee.
Right.
So in the largest economy in the world, the U.S. economy, there's 30 million businesses. 3 million of them are Black. So let's say 8, 9, 10%. And most of those don't have an employee, and they're not on e-commerce. So in 2 years, we just announced it on Black Enterprise, did an article. We just announced that we've had 155,000 Black businesses created and supported in 2 years.
Wow.
So if you look at that trajectory, we're ahead of schedule to create 1 million Black businesses
Wow.
by 2030. And that's before our agreement with the US SBA that we just signed, and Administrator Guzman, the administrator for the SBA, we just signed to be an engine for Black business creation for them. That's before we're talking about taking the 3 million existing businesses that don't have e-commerce and making sure that if you have a restaurant, you should have an e-commerce restaurant. If you have a barbershop, you should also have an e-commerce barbershop. You should be making money in your sleep. You make money during the day. You build wealth in your sleep. You should be building wealth in your sleep. So while you're sleeping, you should be taking orders,
right,
overnight for e-commerce. That's how you build wealth. But our people don't. We're not down with that. We're using this iPhone, this little computer. We're using it mostly as an entertainment device, which is what the Earn Your Leader guys were saying at my forum. And we got to realize that's a little computer.
right,
and we got to start using it as a wealth creation and an educational device. By the way, complete aside, a lot of people watching this are listening to they're on TikTok, and I put on my Instagram post last night. There was a 60 Minutes report that was done that showed that in China, it's Chinese owned TikTok. They use TikTok. They say the kids can only do it 40 minutes a day. TikTok in China is educational. It's about country pride and all this stuff. And the number one aspirant of young people in China who on TikTok is to be an astronaut. They really shipped out the version that we see to the rest of the world to get us hooked on like a drug on these little videos that are mostly nonsense in nature. And mind you, I've seen them. They're funny, blah, blah, blah. That's the whole point.
Right.
Is to get you hooked on nonsense. What's the number one thing that Black folks want to be? Influencers. Astronaut in China, influencers here. And if we don't think that this is going to have an impact in 3 generations, then we're not thinking straight. So what I want to do, Kelly, is finish what the Freedmen's Bank started in 1865. Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass created a bank to teach free slaves about money. And then Lincoln was killed the next month. Yes. And Frederick Douglass, who was a capitalist, by the way, who owned $6 million worth of real estate in Baltimore, Maryland, and rented it out to working class Blacks. The same business that I'm in, by the way. I own 700 homes. I'm the largest minority owner of single family rental homes in America. And I'm renting it out to working class Blacks. The same, I didn't do it on purpose. It's just completely coincidental that me and Frederick Douglass are in the same business. But that bank was chartered to teach free slaves about money. And then he was killed. The bank failed. And the next time somebody talked to us about money was 100 years ago, and there was a pastor called Dr. King with my mentor, Andrew Young, who was the co-chair of the forum, by the way.
Right.
So it's not like we're dumb or we're stupid. We're actually, Black people, we're actually brilliant. But it's what we don't know that we don't know that's killing us, but we think we know.
Exactly.
So we're the rules are published in politics, so we succeed. The rules are published in the playing fields level in the arts and professional sports, so we succeed. But there are no rules that are published for free enterprise, capitalism, economics, and ownership. And the only the 3 groups of people who have not chosen capitalism first for justice were African Americans, Native American Indians, and poor whites. Everybody else in the world who escaped poverty, and injustice chose capitalism and free enterprise first to get their justice. And once they got that and got their ownership and got their opportunity and got their job creation, then they went and demanded their social justice. We did it in reverse. A good example of this is our Jewish brothers and sisters. I don't know why the heck we've been jamming up Jews in the last few months. It's completely ridiculous to me. But they're a great example, and they helped Dr. King in the Civil Rights Movement. It's a great example of a group that where there was an attempted assassination of an entire race, but they had the 5 pillars of the success. It's my book, Up From Nothing, that I outline. As much education you can shove down your throat, understanding how the math works, financial literacy, how does wealth creation work, family structure and resiliency, self-esteem and confidence. Those 2 things are different. And role models and environment. I mean, role models and environment basically means if you hang around 9 broke people, you'll be the 10th.
Right.
And we've been hanging around too many broke people.
You said that at the conference, and I was like, You're exactly right. My father and my mother always taught me, it's like, act like where you're going, dress where you're going, or hang around the people that you want to be like, or you want to have friendship and support with.
Yep.
And you're absolutely right. If you hang around broke folks, you're gonna be broke, because they're gonna sit there and talk about everything that woulda, shoulda, coulda, and what they're not, or they're gonna be talking about how broke they are. And
Or worse, just you're just modeling what you see.
see, right, a product of
And
that environment that you're in constantly, that you're not able to break out of. So how do people get involved with Operation Hope? How can they jump on board? How can they be a part of the creativeness and be a part of this one MBB, and get the training and the support from Operation Hope, and from Spotify and Truist
Shopify.
Bank, Shopify and
It's
Truist
okay.
Bank,
You're
and all these.
on radio. You should say Spotify. I
Right.
understand it. I get it.
Shopify. How do we get involved? How do we get engaged?
Well, let me first answer your question that you asked me about what's involved. So when you sign on to 1MBB, which you can go to 1MBB.org or 1 Million Black Business Initiative, just search it, or go to operationhope.org, or type in or go download the Hope in Hand app for the iPhone or for your Android phone, or call 1-888-388-HOPE, 1-888-388-HOPE. Once you go through one of those platforms to get to us, if you're trying to start a business, which is, I encourage you to at least try, here's what you get. You get free financial coaching. You get free business plan development. You get some free small business and entrepreneurship training. You get 700 credit score coaching and counseling to get your credit score up. You get a free domain name search for the internet domain. You get a free domain name. You get a free website. You get free payment systems for your website. You get free support for your delivery system. You get free accountant for 2 hours. You get free lawyer for 2 hours. You get free marketing assistance for 2 hours. Right? And once you make your first sale, you get a credit line against that sale. We do everything but take you to home and help you sleep.
I mean,
you get a free license for e-commerce license for 4 months. I mean, I don't know what else people want.
Dude, I'm getting off the call. I'm getting ready to sign up. I want free 99.
As you should.
Okay.
Free 99. Everybody should sign up.
Okay.
It's unbelievable.
Amazing. It's unbelievable. It's crazy. I mean, and let me just pick your brain for a second. It's not even one of my questions. What was it that allowed you to understand that's where you needed to go in order to build what you have built?
I when I was coming up, and I try to make this part short, because if anybody interested, they can just Google search it or whatever. But my mom and dad divorced over money. Number one cause for divorce is money. Number one cause of domestic abuse is money. And my dad and my mother battled domestically. Number one cause for heart attacks is stress. Number one cause for stress is money. We love money. We don't want to talk about it, meaning Black people. We love civil rights, but we won't talk about civil rights. We want to protest in the streets, but we don't want to cut the business deal in the suites. One doesn't come without the other. And my mother understood that. My dad sort of didn't. My dad could make the money but couldn't keep it. He made $1 and spent $1.50. The more money he made, the broker we got. My dad was a good man, since passed on to glory, but he confused making money with building wealth. He confused cash flow with profit. He figured he was a cement contractor, and he would bid on a driveway job back then for, let's say it was $1,000. Well, the materials might have cost him $950. Labor might have been another $400. But he just thought that just getting the job and getting the cash flow meant that he's going to be successful. No, that if you bid a job for $1,000 and it costs you $1,500, you're losing money slowly. And if you do that a lot, you're losing money quickly. So we had a gas station. We owned an 8-unit apartment building we bought for $18,000, worth $6 million today. We owned the gas station is probably worth a couple million. We owned our own home. We owned a nursery business. We owned a cement contracting business. Translation, we lost it all because my dad, my mother were not a team. And
Mm.
I think in a marriage, you got to understand that 2 plus 2 needs to equal 6, 8, or 10. If you're not better together, then what are you doing? If somebody's listening to this and you're not married yet, and you're going to the club to meet your girlfriend or meet your wife or your husband, don't just say they're cute or they're handsome. Ask them what their credit score is. Ask them what ask them what the business plan is for their life, because you are me. You're after the chest sags and the rear end expands. You're left with the brain, heart, and the head, and everything else that really matters and will sustain. And that has to add value to your life. You've got to be friends after you finish the fun. You've got to be partners after you finish the party. And so my mom and dad didn't get that memo. We lost it all. We lost our generational wealth. And make a long story short, I then saw a murder when I was 7 over money. My best friend was murdered when I was 9 over money. And
Mm.
by the time I was 9, I'm like, man, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Right.
So a banker came in my classroom, happened to be Caucasian. As far as I was concerned, he was green, and started talking about financial literacy. I'm 9 years old in Compton.
Mm.
And he had a suit on. He wasn't a detective. I couldn't figure out why a white man with a suit was in my neighborhood. He had a car in the parking lot with a tags on it and a license plate. It was legal. I couldn't figure out how he did that. He had a business card that said 16th floor. It was the only multi-level building in Compton with a courthouse. He didn't work there. I'm like, man, who are you? You're like a
Mhm.
Martian.
Mhm.
And I said, how'd you get rich legally? And he said, young man, I'm a banker and I finance entrepreneurs. I said, sir, I don't know what an entrepreneur is. No one's ever said that phrase or word to me my entire life. But if it's legal
Right.
and you're financing it, I'm going to be one. And then once I realized bankers were everywhere, I realized there were 100,000 bank branches and 7,000 banks, and it's quasi government, and they have a responsibility to serve our community, and there's access to capital there,
Right.
and we could get to a point where we could get some of that capital, and we could start
Right.
not just cash checks, we can write them. I mean, I was done. So my job was to then take what I learned and expand it to the masses. And this is what I thought Dr. King would be doing if he was alive today. I think that financial literacy is a civil rights issue of this generation. It's just that, I mean, I could tell you more. I mean, I was homeless 6 months of my life, and I put the liquor store out of the candy business when I was 10 years old. I started my first business, made $300 on $40 investment. I can go into the depths of it, but people can read my books or watch the videos online that go into more detail. They're interested. The short version is I found a burning bush for our freedom, and it's self-determination.
That's it. That's truly it. Self-determination. Do
And
you
even behind
think?
politics is money.
Mhm. Oh yeah. I
Yeah.
we base our platform on the social, the economic, and the political or public policy impact on our community. I don't believe you can have any one of those that do not have a relationship with the other. If it's social,
Absolutely.
it has a political or economic impact or public policy impact. If it's political, it has a social economic. And if it's economic, it has a social and political. So you can't
Yep.
separate those three, in my opinion, because they're always going to be there. And
Yep.
and recognizing that, do you think that we will be at a point where we have corporations investing $50 billion into Black America if there was not a George Floyd videotape, if there was not
Nope.
the image of it and the realization
Nope.
of what really happened?
No, I think that the God rest the souls who died, and God bless those who survived COVID. But I think that rainbows only follow storms. I think that COVID was a wake up call for the world that we were not taking care of our planet. We were not taking care of God's children. We were not doing things that allow this planet to survive another 100
Right.
or 200 years. I
Right.
think that God had given us permission through free will to do what we want to do, and we were just not doing it well. And we had a president in office who was literally a crook, literally had no interest in public policy, and he wasn't even a Democrat or a Republican. He was a Democrat. He's about himself. And we had reached a zenith point, this tipping point where things and we are the light of the world. I mean, America's not perfect, but if America walks off the stage, what do we think? China's going to be the leader of freedom in the world, or Russia's going to be the leader of freedom in the world? I mean,
Right.
America could not leave the stage, but we were not operating in a way that was sustainable, yet alone laudatory. And I think that God stepped in and created the worst pandemic in 125 years. And I mean, what's the chance you're going to have the worst pandemic in 125 years?
Yes.
The George Floyd murder, which created a reckoning of Black America that's 40 years old. An attack on our capital, which hasn't been done since the 1700s, and that was, by the way, when that happened, I think it was a late 1700s when British attacked the Capitol. You would know the number better, the time better than me. But never has Americans attacked the American Capitol. This stuff happened in the same year. What's the chances of that? And I think that no different than the Rodney King riot spurred my movement, and the Watts riot spurred what happened in the 60s in many ways around economics.
Right.
And I think George Floyd was a wake-up call. But what's the chance that we'd all be sitting at home watching the TV? If it wasn't for the pandemic, it would have been like, hey, what did you hear about that? What was happening on TV? I don't know. What was that? And then he would move on to something else. Everybody watched a public lynching for 8 minutes.
Yeah.
And I think the best way we can honor George Floyd's murder is the third Reconstruction. So the first Reconstruction was about 10 years, and it was after the Civil War, and it was about freedom. The second Reconstruction was about 10 years, and it was in the 60s, and it was about access. And the third Reconstruction, I think it'll be about 10 years, 2020 to 2030, and it's about opportunity. And we have got to finish the third Reconstruction, and that's the best way to honor the murder of George Floyd. And that is why I think that triggered that $60 billion investment of corporate America. And what we got to do is, now the door is open, we got to be able to walk through it.
Yes.
Which means we need our credit right. We need our attitudes right.
Yes.
We need to have our financials right. We need to have our hustle right. And we need to move into this moment at scale. It's not coming back. If we mess up this moment, it's not coming back. And let me say this on your show, for all of my Democratic friends who are watching this show. For Democrats to push away capitalism is stupid. Arguably the most successful Democrat president we've had in 100 years, I'd argue, was Bill Clinton, in the sense that he left surpluses, he grew the economy. But he was basically a conservative Democrat. But he was, and by the way, somebody's watching this going, oh, he put Black people in jail. Well, by the way, you need to go back and read the tape. It was the NAACP, the Urban League, Black leaders who went up and said, this crime is out of control.
John? Would you say that, please?
Black folks went to him and said, crime is out of control. By the way, we're about to say it again. Crime is out of control. Right? Okay. And we need you to do something about this. So we got to understand there is no perfect, right? And there are 20% of bums everywhere. 20% of the Democratic Party are bums. 20% of Republicans are bums. 20% of liberals and conservatives are bums. 20% of people in my family are bums. But you don't throw out capitalism in a country built on capitalism. This is a capitalist democracy. And even if you want to distribute money like a socialist, you got to first collect it like a capitalist. So to quote Andrew Young, to live in a system of free enterprise and not to understand the rules of free enterprise must be the very definition of slavery. If somebody wants to really become a winner in the Democratic Party, in my opinion, you want to have a Republican head and a Democratic heart. You want to help people to be free, become homeowners, become entrepreneurs, become small business owners, send their kids to college, create economic viability, get jobs, get careers, but also have compassion for those who are left behind, also have empathy, and do well and do good. This narrative, why Democrats just give away capitalism to Republicans, is beyond me. To me, is lunacy. We have got to, most people are in the middle in this country.
In the middle, exactly.
And I'll say something else that people won't like on this program. This country is not mostly liberal. It's center, slightly right. Center, slightly right. What do I mean by right? I don't mean Republican. I mean right as in I want to own a home.
Right.
I want to do as I like. I want an insurance policy. I want a job. I don't want a handout. I want a hand up. I want to own a business. I want to build wealth. We work on tax payments, which you make that through compensation. This is not a giveaway country. This is a gateway country. We're going to gateway you to your own self-determination. I mean, Black folks, we are, if you want to call it, conservative by nature.
Right, exactly.
And I think almost too conservative. We don't own insurance. You know, we need an insurance policy. We need to become homeowners. Anyway, I'm getting far afield. I'm just saying we have got to radically reimagine everything. We have got to reimagine everything and knock all this silly stuff off and get with a business plan that will work. I'm not running for office for anybody who's saying that I have no interest whatsoever. I'm just simply saying we need to upgrade our software.
Yeah, you're right on point. I think I've had that argument so many times with Black folks about Bill Clinton and creating and putting our people away. I said, look, if you didn't do the crime, you wouldn't be locked up. It's real simple. You knew
Amen. If
you did it 3 times, you was going away for 25. You knew that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean,
it's ridiculous sentencing for somebody. I mean, because if you're a white person, you're going to do your drugs in your mansion or in your house, so you don't get picked up. We do it on the street corner. But if you're going to do the crime, you're going to do the time. Anyway, we're getting off. This will be another hour podcast we get started. But anybody who wants to know how I feel about this, go watch Chris Rock and his a comedy special he's got called "Bring Home the Pain." And he's like, I love Black folks and I hate something else.
Right. And I'm not worried about something else when I'm going to the ATM.
Right. That's right. He said, look, when I go to the ATM, I'm not looking for the media.
Right.
The media ain't done nothing for me.
Right.
The media ain't robbing me.
Right. But close this out on with this right here, because what I found interesting was that the one forum that you had with T.I. and Killer Mike and Charlemagne and
Ambassador Young
and Tony Wrestler, where T.I. was saying he had gone to the bank, he's got $1 million in the bank, and they wouldn't give him a loan to build his business.
Yeah.
He has the capital. He has it there where he could, literally use his own. But of course, we don't use our own money. But his bank turned him away and made him go get collateral from his other properties and investments to even do that. What should that say to us who don't have millions in the bank about that? Because you talked about relationship, and I don't want to steer you that way, but I want you to talk about it in its elevated area to bring it down to us to help us understand it.
Well, folks need to go back and watch that clip. It's the business plan for Black America. It was a closing segment of the forum. Go back and watch that whole series. But the last 5 minutes, basically, I said, T.I., come on now. You're my brother. I love you. When I was with you in the studio, you talked to me about licensing rights and this right and that and publishing this and the whole music business. He broke it down to me in great detail. I said, you know who your writers are. You know who your publishing agencies are. You got agents and managers, and you talk to these folks all the time. I said, T.I., when's the last time you talked to your banker? And I don't mean your branch manager. What's the name of the CEO of the bank? I don't know. Now, mind you, I'm not telling you anything out of school. This is how he and I talk.
Right.
He didn't do the job of going to build the relationship capital you're a multimillionaire. You should know the head of credit. You should know the folks who are doing the underwriting. You should know the CEO of the bank. This is what white folks do. This is what Jewish folks do. This is what everybody does but us. If you have that kind of money in the bank, why are you on a first name basis with the teller or the branch manager? They can't do anything for you. That's no disrespect intended, but you're trying to ask for a decision they can't make.
Right.
So if you have the same kind of relationship capital at the corporate office of the bank as you do at the corporate office of the record company or the publishing company or your writer and your dancers and whatever, you'd have got the loan. Because that's how the world works. The world works on relationship capital. You go, everybody's in the barber shop. Everybody's stacked up. How can somebody walk in and go right to the chair? They know the owner. They know the barber. They had a relationship. They had an appointment. The barber prioritized it.
Right.
That's the way it works. This is nothing new. It's the way the world works. We have not prioritized civil rights. Let me leave you with this. Our black world is filled with red rooms. I get it. We've been discriminated against. We've been messed with for 400 years. I get, so we got red rooms for discrimination. Red rooms. We can call people for bias and police brutality. It's somebody in every city you can call, and you get somebody on somebody's rear end. They'll be picketing within 3 hours of discrimination. We need a room. We need to have a series of green rooms. Bankers,
right,
accountants,
right,
financiers, those who give you a green light on credit approval, those who can get you a franchise for a business, those that you can get you in the venture capital circles. We need green rooms that outnumber our red rooms. That's what I'm doing.
So close me out. What's at stake when you look at everything that we're looking at right now economically for and the economic shift that's happening in America, and you're talking to us that we have like a 10-year for the third reconstruction. What's at stake for Black America, Black business, Black entrepreneurship, the Black community at large? What's at stake for us?
By the way, I like you so much. I'm gonna let the CEO of one of the biggest banks in the world go to voicemail. They just called me. That's how much I like you. It's everything. It's everything. If we don't get what we do in the next 10 years, will last 100.
Repeat that.
Drop the mic.
Repeat
what
that.
What we do in the next 10 years, really the next 8 by 2030, will last 100.
I like it. Like you said, drop the mic. You better get it. Go to operationhope.org or .com.
Yep. .org. We're a nonprofit.
.org, right? Go to 1MBB.org.
1MBB. Yep.
1MBB.org.
Mm-hmm.
Get signed up. I'm telling you, I'm about to sign my son up, my daughter up, me up. I'm signing everybody up. Okay. We're about to do this thing and, take advantage of what he's offering, take advantage of where he has led. He just said, if you round 9 of the broke folks, you're the 10th one. Where he has led, that's where we need to be. So I'm imploring you, I'm encouraging you, and I'm telling you, do not sleep. Go back and watch the videos. Like he said, I'm going to be, shopped up, instead of binging, One Life to Live or whatever the next Housewives are or whatever else it is, binge John Hope Bryant and Operation Hope Global Forums and Hope Global Forums and everything that he's talking about. Because I'm telling you, that Shopify video that I just saw from last year just blew it out the water for me. Not only that, but everything else he said. And the last thing he told T.I., and I'll share with you, he said when he was listening to Tony Wrestler, he shut up. When he was listening to T.I., when T.I. was talking about music, he shut up. When he went to talk about housing and real estate, whoever he talked to, he shut up. If he listened to Bishop Jakes, he shut up. He said when Ambassador Young, shut up. He said, but when he's talking about economics to you, shut up and listen and take it from me. Dr. John Hope Bryant, thank you so much, man. I am gratefully and appreciative of you taking the time to get on here with me, take this time out. That forum was amazing. I mean, in terms of economic forums or in terms of business conferences, Tony Wrestler, I mean, that dude right there.
Yeah, 275th richest man in the world.
I mean, he was just laying it out like so real. I was like, I can walk with him. I can walk with him.
Yep.
I want to thank you so much, sir. Thank you. I appreciate you. And prayerfully, I can get you again and we can talk some more stuff because I love everything you're doing.
Thank you, brother. Peace and light. God bless you.
Thank you, man. All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
I must say that this has been a joy for me. I was excited. I was honored. I am blessed and privileged to be able to have this opportunity. So I want to thank everyone at Operation Hope and Global Forum for making this possible. I want to also apologize to those of you who were on the Blog Talk Radio side. We were having some technical difficulties. I don't know what was happening, what's wrong. I know that you probably weren't able to get through or you were on and listening, but certainly you can hear us right here on Facebook, on StreamYard, on YouTube. We'll rebroadcast this, and what I'll do is I'll try to take the audio from this and post it onto the Blog Talk Radio so you can listen there. But let me tell you, the Hope Global Forum. I what I didn't say and what I didn't get a chance to do is I've never seen so many CEOs in a room at one time. I mean, after you had Tony Ressler, the owner of the Atlanta Hawks, you had PayPal, um, Dan. I can't think of his last name. I don't know all of these people, so I wouldn't know their last names without looking at program. But Dan Shulman, I think it is, and then you had Walmart CEO. You had the Walmart CEO there. Then you had Delta Airlines CEO. You had the director of Rise, who is a part of the Miami Dolphins, a black woman. You had the new head of Wells Fargo's inclusion and diversity, a black woman. I mean, black women were all over the place in terms of high echelon C-suite executives across the board. Then you had Senator Raphael Warnock there. And of course, you had Bishop T.D. Jakes there, who dropped. I mean, I got videos. The videos and everything I have, folks. I can't even get them to upload because I don't want to cut them. And you know how it is sometimes. They're too long, but you got to cut them and splice them so that you can upload them. If I cut them, I feel like I'm going to miss something. I don't want to cut them. And I've been trying to upload these suckers for about 4 days so they can be up on the site and everywhere else. I was going to try to use some tonight, but it's like, oh, do I cut there? Do I cut this? And then I'm going to have to clean up some audio issues. But other than that, I mean, it was, in terms of forums, and I'm gonna say this too. I was at the U.S. Black Chamber Conference in October, the Buy Black Forum, our conference. That forum was probably the best I had been to since I went to this forum. So Ron Busby over at the U.S. Black Chamber of Commerce is doing some magnificent, wonderful things. He's getting America. If you did not know, America just held an African summit. The first time they've done that since I think the 70s or the 80s, maybe, and probably before that. I think it's been at least 50 years since they've had a forum or a conference where African nations, heads of African nations, were here in America. And there were, I think, about 50 African countries represented, if I'm correct, right here in Washington, D.C. And unfortunately, I was in Atlanta at the time that conference started and got off. But Ron Busby has been doing some things with the administration and trying to create opportunities and economic opportunities for Black folks in business to be able to export and import into Africa. So if you don't know, now you know. Make sure that you do this. You go onto Operation Hope's website, 1mmb.org, operationhope.org, sign up for their business. I'm going to call it business incubator. Sign up, get the tools, get the information, get the credit scores, get everything they offer and operate. I'm about to do it. All right. Because Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Tom Brady are superstars, but they still have a coach. They still have a coach. So they're not out there coaching themselves. They're not out there creating the design and plays themselves. They're out there executing. And because of their talent, they can execute at a high level, higher than any others in their position. You may have a business now. You may be operating. You may be doing well. You may have government contracts around the globe. But still go get the free 99 and do better. Don't sit there and say, I got this, I've already done it, so I don't need it. Or like in this case, you have one insurance policy, but that one insurance policy is not going to cover everything, although it tells you it will, or you think it will. Why don't you have 2 or 3? Why don't you have them on your wife, your son, your daughter, your grandmother, your auntie, your cousin, So we can make sure we can take care of that, but also get wealth from it, get income from it. Insurance isn't just about paying premiums, it's about reaping the benefit from those premiums when something happens. Your car insurance. You got car insurance, so when you have an accident, your car gets fixed. Homeowners insurance, so your home gets fixed. Life insurance, so if you die, you can take care of it. Get the insurance of getting free information, free opportunity, free coaching to get better at what you're already doing, or maybe you want to branch off and do something else. Do that, then go over to the US Black Chamber, join the chamber or whatever Black chamber you have locally, as well as the US Black Chamber, and then start importing and exporting your goods to Africa, to your motherland, to your homeboys and homegirls, to your great, 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 great grandmama and granddaddy. Dead and gone, but the ancestry is there. Do that and take advantage of what's being offered to you. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that the US Black Chambers program is also free 99, half off, buy one, get one free, all of that. And when these conferences come up and when they are there, register for them. Register for them and be able to invest in yourself. It's a write-off. The travel, the hotel, the food, the expenses, it's a write-off from your business. So go to the conference. Get there a day early so you can lay out the land, get all your stuff together so you know what sessions you're going to go to. And then if there's no reception afterwards or no closing thing out, then you can leave that afternoon or that evening. Otherwise, leave the next morning, because a lot of people hang out after the conference, and that's where deals are made, and that's where you meet people, and that's where things happen. I can't tell you how many people I met and how many people I was like, okay, yeah, I can do this or I can do that. And don't always go to the people that look like you either. Go to people who don't look like you. Go to people who are doing what you're doing, but doing it on a greater scale. Go to people who are doing things that, better than you, different than you. Even if they look like they're doing it better than you, go to them. Meet them, talk to them, because, hey, I'm about to call his executive assistant, say, can I have a one-on-one conference with him, talk to him? Can I get help? Can I get a mentorship? Can I go to Ambassador Andrew Young? Can he mentor me? Can I go over here to Dan Shulman, CEO of PayPal? Can he mentor me? Whoever, everyone. They're not in media. I'm in media, but I'm going to still get them to mentor me because they're in business. Then I'll get someone in media to mentor me, but they're in business. So I want to understand business, and then I can craft it and tailor it to the media of what I'm doing. That's what we need to do. That's where we need to go. So I want to thank you. I want to thank, as I call him, Dr. John Hope Bryant. I want to thank Operation Hope. I want to thank his executive assistant, or Tina. I want to thank Janae. I want to thank everyone over at Operation Hope for allowing me this opportunity to get him on the broadcast and to have him for the full show, and to be able to impart the wisdom, knowledge, and valuable resources into those of you who are watching, listening, and I hope you take part in. We'll work on the audio side of Blog Talk, and we'll be getting back and gearing up again for 2023. We're going to have a new schedule. So it'll still be on Monday. It'll still be at 7 p.m. But all that stuff is going to be posted on the website and things like that. And in fact, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to let John Hope Bryant, Operation Hope, get me a new website, get me new stuff. I mean, hey, there's so much right now going through my mind. I'm not even sure how I want to end, because it's like, if we only knew. And I think that's what John said. He said, we're very resourceful. We're very talented. We're very good at what we do. We're resilient. But some things we don't know. And some things were never provided or established for us to know. So it's not a bad thing that you don't know. It's a bad thing when you don't know that you know and you don't go try to find out. that's when it becomes bad. So the fact that you don't know, you can get a pass. But the fact that you don't know and you don't go try to find out, you get no pass. And I'm guilty of that myself. I am guilty of it. I'm guilty of it all. So that's why at this point in this stage in my life and my entrepreneurial aspirations and everything I want to do, I'm going for broke. There's nothing to lose and everything to gain. Many of you know I've been rock bottom sleeping in the back of my car. No place to live, no job, nothing. Me and my son, and God be the glory. We're back up, back on our feet. I have a home. I have a job, career, working, trying to do some things. But it's like I'm not going to allow the fear of what was behind me, the fear of what I went through, to stop me from going forward. What I wrote and what I mentioned or what I talked about in my introduction of not allowing the past to hold you back, not allowing your fear or the fact that time has gone by and you haven't had a chance to do or accomplish all that you want to accomplish. I'm not going to allow that to stop me now. I used to think I didn't allow it to stop me, but as I think about everything I learned in Atlanta, I think subconsciously I've allowed it to stop me. Subconsciously, I was still looking for or depending on that every 2 week paycheck or finding my security in that every 2 week paycheck. Um, but at the same time, once you've been broke, homeless, and didn't have nothing, the sky is the limit. You can go nowhere but up at that point. So I think I have a mixture of the the security and yet the daredevilishness of the entrepreneurial spirit. But if I take the training, and that just hit me just now, if I take the training, if I go through John's program, I don't have to have a daredevilish entrepreneurial spirit. I can have a planned, plotted, prepared perspective of what I can do or what I need to do so that I can get what I want and go where I need to go. And then I can use the $50 billion access from corporate America. I can use the $130 million access from Spotify. I could use the free 99 from 1MMB. I can use all those services. I can then create the Google aspects to create what I need to do on Google, the Facebook, the website, everything, and then take off. So let's commit to one another, to hold one another accountable. I'll probably mention this every show, if not every other show or something like that. I'll make mention of it in each broadcast that we do. Are you following through? Are you doing it? I want you guys to jump into the chat and say yes, say no, say we're here, we're there, wherever you're going or whatever's wherever you are. I want you to stay in touch. I want you to hold me accountable. Call me out. Those of you who watch, you can certainly get to our website, blackpoliticstoday.com. You can send me information there. Those personally, you got my information. You can hit me up personally and say, "Hey, what you doing? Have you done it? You said hold you accountable. Let's hold one another accountable. Let's make 2023 the year that we always said that 2010 was going to be, 2011, 2012, 2020, 2015, 2021, or even 2022. Let's make 2023 that year that we said it was going to be 10 years ago, 5 years ago, wherever it was. Let's consciously, intentionally make this year coming up the best year of your life moving forward. Because I agree with John that if we do not grab a hold of this route over the next 8 years, we may be lost for the next 100. And clearly, All of us who are watching this right now will be dead by then. But the problem with that is that what we don't do and what we do will transfer to our children and our grandchildren and our great grandchildren. And it could put them in the same position of not doing, thinking about it, and never actually effectuating that vision, that dream, that hope, that desire. So let's do that. Let's do that. Until next time, if it's social, economic, or political, it's Black Politics Today. And I want to thank you for joining us. Thank you for tuning in. We're getting back in the saddle again. As I said, we had a great year in 2022, up and down year, but we ended it on a positive note. And now that we will be sworn into elective office in January, on January 2nd, it's going to take a whole new turn of events and a whole new perspective of probably be my outlook, maybe some of the things I say or don't say, but I'm still going to keep it real. I'm still going to be me. And there's just be some things I may not be able to talk about publicly at some points, and then other things I can talk about. So, we just work it out and take it from there. So until then, if it's social, economic, or political, it's Black Politics Today. I don't have my outgoing. Do I have my outgoing music? Where's my outgoing music at? Let's see here. We're still having problems over here. I'm going to try something. You guys stand by. I'm going to try something. I'm going to see if it's going to work here. Okay, now it wants to work. Now it wants to work. Okay. Well, folks, on Blog Talk, it's finally connected and it's going through. But we'll make sure we put this up and get it over to the Blog Talk platform, and you'll be able to listen to it there. But certainly, you can certainly catch it right here on Facebook and on YouTube, and we'll take it from there. But until then, good night, everybody. Let's see if it's working.